Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and today we are back with another exciting tutorial on Docker. So in this tutorial we are going to talk about Docker multi-stage builds. So this will be a very interesting tutorial and let's see what we are going to cover in this topic. So in this video we are going to talk about why Docker multi-stage build, what is the benefit and why we would like to use that. So we'll touch upon that and we'll also talk about how it was before a multi-stage build. If you don't use multi-stage build, how you usually can build your Docker images. And we'll also talk about using multi-stage build, so how you move from the normal Docker builds to multi-stage builds. So we'll talk about that, and we will do it with examples and how actually it works. So I will show you the complete details with example, how it was before multi-stage build and how after multi-stage build, how it will work. And we'll also see how you can name your stages in the build. So this will be the agenda for this tutorial. So let's get started with Docker multi-stage builds and why, right? So I will touch upon the benefits or why we want to use it first. So what is the benefit is like using multi-stage build helps you to optimize your Docker files. So when you want to build a Docker image, something important is like a Docker file, right? Without a Docker file, you're not going to build an image. So you need to write your Docker file, and you need to build that image, right? Which you store to Docker Hub or any repositories, right? So if you keep writing Docker file, there will be so much of Docker files, and the way how you write or everything is depends, how you optimize. So all those things is very dependent upon how your image will be, the output of the image from the Docker file, right? So that is important. So another important point is like, using multi-stage builds help you to reduce the size of Docker images. Not only the size of the Docker images, it also help you to save a lot of size on your local machines or your systems because when we talk about saving the different files in different locations and copying to other Docker images. I will touch upon all these things when we talk about how Docker build works and how we are saving the artifacts from one Docker image to other Docker image, right? So overall, these are the two benefits which I feel like using multi-stage Docker build will help you, like optimizing your Docker files and also reducing the size of your Docker image. So before I get into the next part of the tutorial, I would recommend you or I would request you, like if you're new to my channel, click on the subscribe button, also like my video, give your feedback in the comment sections. And if you're looking for something or if you have a feedback, just put it in the comment section and I always try to reply as soon as possible. Now let's move on to the structure how we were doing before multi-stage build, right? So we can understand how it was done before multi-stage build. So usually how we would do, we have Docker files, we build it, we publish the image to Docker Hub or some other repository, right? And it's always, the challenge would be the size of image keeps growing quite a large. So that is one of the challenge when we try to build our Docker images and try to add a lot of contents into it. So our process is normally we need to clean up the resources from the image to keep it low, right? And also what we would do is like we keep a Docker file for development and another Docker file for production so that we can keep the size minimal in the production or the slim version in the production. So in the development part we can keep everything inside, so we build everything and only the what you need for running in the production we move it to the production build. So like in the development version, the container, like everything you need to build the application, we keep it in the development Docker file. And when we go to the production, we keep only the slimmed version where it's only just you keep the application and the dependencies for running the build or running the application, right? So in the production, that's how when you use separate Docker files, how you create it. And we also try to create, keep the layers as small as possible because if you keep creating different layers, the size of the Docker image keeps grows as well, right? Now let's see an example. Like let's take an example like we want to have a development environment. So we create a Docker file called build.docker file, and we also have a Docker file which is slipped down for the production build, right? So how, oh, let's take an example like this is a build.docker file, okay, where we are taking an image from Golang, right? That's a Docker image, base image, and you're going to set your work directory and you're going to build your app. So we are going to use no, building this app and which will be saved in the location as app, right? So that will be the part of the build or development build. And once the second part would be like, you are using a separate Docker file where you have a base image from Alpine and you're going to use the app which was built from the previous build Docker image, right? When you build that one, you have an app which you will copy it here and to run it. Now what happens like you need to have two separate Docker file. You create one Docker file to run the build, and you have your app out of it, part of that build, and you need to keep that app somewhere locally or from you need to extract that from your Docker container and the Docker image. Then you need to copy into your next Docker file, and then you need to build again. So it's a comparison process. You need to have separate script, or you need to have different location where you need to keep all those things. So that's a complex process when you use separate builds, right? And it's also you need to manage different Docker files. That is where the benefit of using multi-stage Docker build helps. So with a multi-stage Docker build, what you can do is you can use multiple from statement in Docker file. So you can have multiple from statement. We will see how that is done. Okay, and each from statement or instruction can be of different base image. It doesn't mean like it has to be only the same base image. It can be from different base image, and each of them begins as a new stage for the build. And you can also selectively copy the artifacts from one stage to another, leaving behind, everything you don't want in the final image. So this is one of the big benefit because you build from the first stage and you have a lot of artifacts out of it, but you don't need to copy everything carry forward. You just pick up, what the content out of it to the main build and you build from that as the final image. So you don't keep your whole stuff into a big size of image. So you only keep what is necessary for your app and the dependency. So you'll have a final image which is very lean or minimal size. Now let's see how you do this in Docker multi-stage build. So I'm showing a single Docker file, which is a combination of two stages, which we done it in the development and production in the previous before multi-stage build. You can combine both things like this, like you have a two section. First section is for Golang base image, and the second section is for Alpine, right? Now let's explain a little bit about this. So, after this, what you can do is you can just run docker build -t and your Docker Hub repository URL, or then you can set some tag and you run it. So you'll have your Docker image with the final one. Okay, so you don't need to run multiple build copy stuff from here and there. Now let's talk about how this works. So how does it works? Like, you have a base image from Golang, and the first part is as usual, you're having the first set of instruction for running the build. So it will use the Golang image, it will set up all the work directory, it will do all those copy running in, and it will create the app. Now the second part is you are having a second stage. So in the second stage, it will use Alpine and it copies only the app from the location. And you can see like we are using copy from, right? So let's talk about, what it happens in the second part is like you are having a second from instruction to start a new build stage. And that is talking about using Alpine latest image, right? And the second highlighted part of copy is really important. Now here you can see copy, and we are using from equal to 0. The 0 is the build stage of the previous build, right? So from Golang, because we have not set anything there, because in multi-stage it takes 0 1 like that. The first stage is 0, then 1. Okay, so the copy from 0 equal to the it copies the build artifact from the previous stage to the next stage. And we can all the other artifacts are left behind, so you don't need to save anything into the final image. So that is the benefit here using multi-stage build. You don't need multiple Docker files, you don't need to copy some stuff. So you just put the instructions and you tell what need to be copied from the previous stage to the final stage. So it will just keep that and leave rest of the things. To make it a little bit more better, rather than using from zero, we can name the stages. So once you name the stages, it will be easier for you to copy or tell, from which stage do you can copy which one. For by default, the stages are in a name, so that's why we refer by the integer number starting from zero. So last case you saw like copy from zero, right? Now here, what I'm showing is like you can set some stage name. So you can see the first stage rather than using zero, you can set as and some name. Or see here it's like as builder. So the in the next part, you can see copy from. Sorry about that. You can see the last part. You can see like copy from builder, right? So it's not like from zero. So you can set the name of the stage, and you can use that to copy from which stage to which stage, which content you need to copy. So it's pretty easy, so the multi-stage build will definitely help you to optimize your Docker files and also to save a lot of space, and you can make your Docker images much leaner and also really good. Okay, so I would suggest you to try using Docker multi-stage builds if you have not tried it yet. And that's all for this tutorial. I'm sure it's helpful for you. If you feel like, if you are interested to see more tutorial like this, I would request you like, click on the subscribe button and like my videos and follow my channel for more videos like this. So thank you for watching.